All right, time to head home. It's a good day at the office. It was a little short if you watched the previous video, so I had to pick up this SUV from the shop earlier. Some AC problems not fixed, that's okay. But we're gonna drive home now. Let's see what's going on. So I should mention, because I haven't mentioned this yet on video. So I work at the building that is, some people don't know this, but there are tree houses at Microsoft. And this building that I work at has the tree houses, which is pretty cool. So there's some treehouse offices. I don't use them, but they're kind of neat. I think that some people get a lot of use out of them, but not this guy. What do I want to talk about today? Sorry, this guy was like running towards the crosswalk, and I had this weird hesitation where I'm like, I don't know if he's just gonna keep running or if he's gonna stop, and I'm not in a good spot to slam on the brake. So good news is he stopped. Yeah, I think today I'll talk about we have like feedback surveys. So this might sound kind of boring, but I think it's very, very helpful. And I think it's good to talk about. Because this type of thing is like really important for being able to have like high performing teams and making sure that we can get feedback and improve. And it's just like this idea, I guess, and I don't know if every team feels like this, if it's just a kind of a way of life for software engineers, and maybe even outside of software engineering, but we have surveys that go out periodically, and it's not like just our team that does like a survey or something. It's done by our org, and I'm assuming even outside, like I don't know if it's a Microsoft wide thing. I should probably know that. It probably is Microsoft wide. Anyway, the way that this looks is that we have this survey that goes out, and it's anonymous, and people get to answer questions about like sort of what it's like to work at Microsoft, and that way we can go through the results and try to drive positive change. So we're able to see how our teams are doing relative to our org, and to I guess it's company wide too. So it must be for the whole company. I'm sort of piecing this together as I explain it. I'm not looking at it directly right now, right? So I'm trying to just like kind of recap what it looks like. And anyway, I feel like people don't like spending time on these things because it's one more thing to do. It's just a dumb survey, like whatever, like what's the value in doing it? Who cares? But like, I'm really sorry if you've had experiences where you've worked where no one gives a crap about that stuff, and you just feel like, okay, anytime I do this, it's a waste of time. Like it's pointless, right? I'm sorry if you had that kind of experience, because I don't blame you then for having future experiences and you're like, why would I do that? I've seen that this doesn't get used. It is just a waste of my time. Like, that sucks. Like I can understand, like I said, why you would not want to do that again in the future. But the problem is like I talk about feedback in general being like super valuable, not just for me to give to employees, but like for me to get from my direct reports, like not anonymously. It's really helpful for people to let me know like how to help coach them and stuff. So I value that, but like this is super valuable too. It's a different type of feedback, and it's to let us know how we're doing in terms of managing the team. And it is anonymous. Like, so it's a different style of question, different type of feedback for us, but the point that I want to get across here is like we as managers, so like myself, my manager, like, and his manager, like messaged us today to say, hey, like, without going into detail, like basically like checking in to make sure people are like actually doing this, and we're like, yeah. So we genuinely go through the feedback and we have conversations with the entire team about it. And it's critical because we need to be able to understand that feedback and try to drive change. So why that's challenging is, like, obviously we want surveys to be anonymous, right? Like we want to make sure that people feel comfortable they can answer things genuinely, because if it's not, they might feel like self-conscious, they might feel like they're getting judged for it, like there might be repercussions. And obviously we don't have that. We don't want any of that. We don't want people to feel that way. So anonymous is the way to go. But what's tricky is when, and you could argue just make better surveys, but I feel like some surveys, the questions are set up in a way where you could have slightly different interpretations of them. So to give you an example, if you asked a question where the goal was to try and understand if people on a team feel like they're able to learn on the job, depending on how you ask that, you could answer it in different ways, right? Like some people, and I don't have a good example of the exact question wording, but depending on how it's done, some people might interpret it like, I don't have time to do it. Some people might interpret it as, I'm literally given time, it's carved out for me, but I don't know what to go learn about. Some people might say, time is carved out, I know what to go learn about, but I don't have a chance to apply what I'm learning. And all of these different things, they're valuable feedback, right? We want to try and drive improvements regardless of that. But the challenge is, like, when it's anonymous and we can't literally hear people explain their thought process behind it, which one of those things do we go address? Do we try to address all of them? Maybe all three of the things I just suggested aren't actually the problem and it's something else. So come on, buddy, you better drive. Someone's blocking the road on this turn. That's okay, we're good. The person in front of me is going on the highway and just like completely under the speed limit, so it's no fun. They're ruining the best part. So anyway, yeah, when we try to talk to the team about this, like, it's important to understand, like, for folks that answered it, like what was your interpretation, so that we can try and address the thing to go improve it. But then you create this funky situation where it's like, okay, we're talking as a group, and are you suddenly, like, I don't want to say forcing, but do people feel like their anonymity is going away because now they're expressing an opinion about the survey results? Like, I get it, like that makes it challenging. So it's a really difficult thing to navigate. So I think one of the things, it's kind of before my time on the team, it sounds like it's kind of interesting. They're making sure there's a space for more junior engineers to be able to also talk about the results without the managers being present and without the principal engineers being present, which I think is very interesting. I think it's a step in the right direction to make sure people have a safe place to talk about stuff. You could argue, like, okay, well, isn't your culture broken then if people don't feel safe to do it? And it's like I wouldn't say broken, right? Like, are there improvements? Sure. There's always going to be improvements. And one of them might just be that when you start putting more experienced engineers on the call, by definition, they might happen to be more vocal people, might have stronger opinions they want to express. And it just so happens that, when people see their hands going up in the meeting to talk, they're like, well, I'm going to sit back and listen. Obviously not ideal, because we want to make sure everyone can talk. So I think it's cool that they've carved that out. That doesn't mean we have to, or we should stop trying to be inclusive generally for these feedback sessions. So yeah, a couple things I'm trying to get at here is, like, if you have these types of opportunities where there is feedback, like, please take the time to go to share that. It's really difficult to guess at what types of improvements people want. I hate this part of the highway, come on. Get that out of the way, Jesus. You get someone in front of me coming in from the right, coming left, and there's someone behind them who can't decide if she's going to also come in front of me or go behind me. And then the person behind me is like, well, screw that. I'm going to also move to the right where I'm trying to go. It's hard to explain unless you see it. But basically, when someone's being very slow and indecisive, they're kind of screwing me over from being able to change lanes. And I don't know if you can see, it might be hard to tell from this video, but the lane to my left is a different exit. And it backs up like crazy. So there's tons of cars lined up to my left. They go way back. And if you're stuck in that line, you're waiting for literally nothing. Like, I'm in a different line for a different exit. And now it's long here. Like, I'm stuck in traffic here. But it's even worse if you're backed up way back there in the wrong line, and then you go, oh crap, I gotta now sit in this other long line. You wait twice as long for no reason. So then I got this guy coming up. You can probably see him if I move my head, maybe not. It's a single lane here, and this guy's coming up behind me, and just like, I don't know what he's thinking he's doing. Like, you're not gonna go any faster. We're literally all stuck in this line of cars, man. But anyway, enough about the traffic. That's not why you're here, is it? It's part of the name. It's a code commute. So you're stuck with me. You get to enjoy my frustration. The other thing that you might not have clued into is I did mention that this car was supposed to be in for AC service and they couldn't fix it, right? It's really hot in here. It's extremely hot in here. The sun is cooking my face. And I can put the windows down, but then you can't hear me. And I can't turn the air on because it just turns on hot air. So, not a good time for anyone. But you can't tell that just from watching this and listening to me. So, I'm letting you know. I'm really curious what this guy behind me is doing, though. It's ridiculous. I almost want to turn the camera so you can see it, but I don't want to putz around with trying to put it back on my head. So, TLDR, he's stupid. But that's okay. As long as he doesn't cut me off when he's trying to merge into traffic here too. Coming up, and I should mention this before I start rambling about the next thing, is if you watch these videos, this is the part in the traffic where I have to merge over from the far right lane, which is just backed up with traffic right now, across all of the lanes of traffic. So 1, 2, 3. I have to get across 3 into the 4th or 5th lane in a very short span of time, because the 4th and 5th lane are the express lanes. They're the ones that move. The other ones are up ahead, going as slow as I'm going right now. You can see the car beside me. Look how fast it's going. Not very. So I had, like, in coming up in a sec, I'm gonna have to go do this merge that I hate. It's like, I feel like someone designed the roads and they were like, this will work. And like, they're not wrong, it works, but it sucks. It really sucks. So I get to live with that, and so does everyone else here. That's nice. But yeah, survey feedback, coming back to that. You like my tangents? Coming back to the survey feedback, I really, like, I take it seriously, and I'm not just saying that, like, I'm literally talking to a camera right now and saying that, right? So I have no reason to, like, lie about that. Oh, come on, man. What is this person doing? They weren't letting me merge in, but then they're a little bit older. Maybe that's why. They kind of had to stop themselves from cutting me off. But yeah, I take the survey feedback really seriously, because my whole goal as an engineering manager is, I say this all the time, it's to enable my team to do their best work possible. There's going to be things that people, for whatever reason, maybe it doesn't come up naturally, whatever, they're not thinking about it, but they're not going to tell me that feedback necessarily. So having a survey and having more opportunities to drive improvements, like, I need that. It helps me do my job. So I take it seriously, right? Now, going back to something I said earlier about like response rates, like, please, yeah, if you have opportunities for stuff like this, please take it seriously, because it might seem like, oh, whatever, it's boring, I don't want to do it, you know, it's just more time spent on something silly. And like I said, I apologize if you've had bad experiences with that, but please, like, if you have a manager that happens to be like me in the future and they need the feedback, they want the feedback, like, this is how they get it. We're almost over, one more lane and then we're cooking. Cooking. My wife doesn't like when I do that, but that's okay. Sorry, Leah. Okay, we're in the fast lane, so it should only take us not a full hour to get home now. The estimated time when I got in the car was 55 minutes. So we'll see how long this video is. If it's not 55 minutes, it's because I beat all of this traffic to my right that you can't see, which is ridiculous. It's just a wall of cars. So I used to hate the idea of driving in the fast lane because you're paying for it, right? Like, it feels like I'm getting ripped off. But then I realized at some point, and I realize not everyone is in the same situation, so I don't mean to frame it that way, but like, it is 100% worth it for me to sit in this fast lane and pay money to do it. You can't, I'm still, you can see the stuff going on beside me, I assume, right? Might be kind of hard to see because it's in the background of the video, but since I merged over, it's been a solid wall of cars to my right, solid wall. So just ridiculous. There's so much traffic on this highway because there's like basically one highway to go north from Redmond, so it's awful. Okay, so that might be all I wanted to say about survey results. Maybe the kind of to finish that off is like, I'm happy that Microsoft does it. I'm happy that they take it seriously. I'm happy that I have a manager and his manager, they also take it seriously. It's not like, hey, Microsoft does this, but we don't care, so like, whatever. Like, they take it seriously. And I think there's a handful of things in like Microsoft culture that are done like that, where it's taken seriously. It's not like diversity and inclusion, for example. It's not like, oh, we just say it. Like, it's literally in the, we call them connects, which are like our multi point in the year check-ins. It's literally baked into that there's elements of diversity and inclusion that we have to talk about. It's literally part of being able to focus on promotions and things like that. We have to be able to speak to how individuals basically have an element of diversity and inclusion. Like, it's in there. So I think that's awesome. And I know like some people are like, oh, whatever, like diversity and inclusion doesn't matter. Like, I don't agree with that. I think it's important. How much you hyper index on it, different story. Don't know. Don't want to get into that. But I like that Microsoft says things like, we care about diversity and inclusion, and then they do it. I like that they say we care about employee feedback, and we literally, through the different levels of leadership, make sure that it's happening. So that kind of stuff I really value. You know, I haven't worked at other big tech companies, so I'm not here to say, oh, Microsoft does it better or worse or whatever. I just appreciate that we do it, because it makes me feel valued. It makes me feel like my job as a manager would be a lot more difficult if I didn't feel that way. And then I had to convince my employees, like, oh no, like, we do care about that, but I, like, you know, literally don't see that anyone does. Like, that's a bad spot to be in. But it makes it very easy for me as a manager when people are like, oh, do we really have to do these surveys? Does anyone care? I can say how much I care, and I can tell them how much leadership honestly does care about this stuff. So it's cool. But I think that's it for surveys. Please fill them out when you get this type of stuff, and if you can be part of driving positive change where you're working, do it. Like, if you're not seeing it happen, try to see if you can be part of it. Okay, what else do I got to talk about today? I don't know, I didn't think this far ahead. That's okay. Let's see, maybe there's some stuff outside of work, because I've been talking about work. I wanted these to kind of focus on general software engineering. It doesn't necessarily have to be work, but I think more recently that's been an easy focus. Because I think some of the other stuff that I was working on today, like, probably not, I don't want to say like not, can't put it on camera like it's top secret, but it's like, it's not going to be, it's not a helpful thing, or maybe could have some like IP related stuff that's not able to put on the internet, so I just won't. Let me talk about some other pieces. So I'm kind of shared out that I'm working on some software that's called Brand Ghost. It's my social media sort of content creation distribution platform. So the TLDR is, it's a glorified content scheduler, right? The idea is that we don't have to schedule content ever. You create content and it posts it at the cadence that you set. So the idea behind the platform itself, like the very first sort of layer of value that it adds, is it just lets you focus on content creation and you don't have to think about posting or scheduling. That's the idea. So I know some people will say they carve out, you know, their Sundays to go schedule content, like some time on a Sunday. I don't schedule content ever because I don't have to. And I really, really like that. Like, I don't have that as a thing that I have to go do. You know, if you're posting to one platform, say you're just posting to LinkedIn, that's not so bad, whatever. But I post to like 12 social media platforms every day, so I wouldn't have time to go schedule all of that. Some of them don't even support scheduling, so I'm not here to like pitch you on Brand Ghost. I want to talk about it, some of the software development of it. So we're kind of in this phase where we're doing betas for it, like onboarding people, and you know, we have scheduling that works. We want to get like early feedback, obviously. So we're kind of going through this process. My experience with doing this kind of thing before was with the nutrition platform I was building called Meal Coach. And as a group of like primarily engineers, we found it like extremely hard to sell people on the idea. And I don't, like, when I talk about selling, I mean, yes, at some point money, like if you're not getting paid money for the things that you're doing, like, can you argue that it's really valuable? Like, it's hard to, right? If no one's willing to pay, is it valuable? But when I say selling in this context, I just mean like selling people on the idea. So we found it really difficult with the nutrition platform as engineers to be able to get people interested in it. And what would happen is, number one, we didn't seem to have a good channel for it, which is hard. So, like, we need to be able to let people know you can't just make a website and hope that it gets discovered. Yes, you can go posting your website on forums and on social media posts, like, of other people, and like trying to get people to click your links, but like there's product hunt and things like that. So there's ways to do it, but the other thing is, like, we need to make sure that we're in a position where we can have conversations with users. So we struggled a lot. It was like, how do we, like, we basically have to go find people and talk to them. And I'm super introverted, so like that's a difficult thing for me. But one of the things that worked was that we could go talk to like people at the gym. So myself, other individuals that was working on this, he was like, we both go to the gym, so like let's see if we can kind of network this way. And what would happen is, like, we could have people that were like, that sounds like super helpful, I could totally see the value in it, but we could never get them to give it a shot, if that makes sense. Like, they might sign up for it and then never do anything with it. So it's weird. It's like people, they were telling us how much the value prop resonated with them. So the idea with this other product was that if you're making meal plans and things like that, which not everyone does, but for the target audience that likes that kind of thing, it takes time. And yes, you can go ask ChatGPT to do it, but it's like having ChatGPT write code. It might look good. Is it right? You don't have a compiler for your meal plan, right? So I can tell you I've asked ChatGPT to do this kind of thing, and it will make something. You can tell it to make adjustments. It'll do it. How accurate are the macros? If you're not familiar, like macronutrients like carbs, protein, fat, because that will dictate how many calories are in there, and ultimately that's going to determine how much you're consuming. So when that's not accurate, or it's not consistent, you're basically just guessing. So we were using a nutritional database with all this food in it. We were having recipes. Anyway, the people liked the idea, but we couldn't get them to convert, and it was really frustrating. So ultimately, like that didn't work. But with Brand Ghost, what's cool is like we have a handful of users on there, and we're already seeing people get value out of it. So today, the why I wanted to bring this up today, had the first post from a user. We didn't tell them to go post it, and they said, I'm using Brand Ghost, it's helping me. Like it was a little testimonial, right? And I thought that was super cool that we had our first like kind of testimonial go out, and someone was happy to share that they're using our software for it. So finally, right, getting people to start using something and like there's value. It's not just on the surface there's value, and they won't take any action. But this is still something like I need a lot of work to get better at this. And I think why I wanted to talk about this is like, I think a lot of the time when I'm talking about software engineering and things like that, it's like how to do well at a company. Because that's where I spend a lot of my time, is at work. And I think most people working as software engineers work at companies. But if you want to do something on the side, if you're trying to make some software, like how do you get people to use the stuff you're building? The easiest way is like if you're literally someone has a problem and you build something for them and give it to them to use, like then you have a user, right? It's really difficult if you're building software guessing that there's a problem. Can it work? Yes, absolutely. But unless you're really good at like marketing and pitching people on it and getting users on board, which I'm not, you might even have an amazing idea, but it's really difficult for you to get any traction with it. So I like kind of thinking through this as I've gone through it once, and it felt like a really bad experience. I have yet another YouTube channel, which I do weekly vlogs, and I've been doing them at this point, if you're watching this, for 20 months now. I've done a weekly vlog. There's a couple I've missed, but it's a weekly check-in. It's almost like a little diary entry, and I do it to kind of share some of the things I'm working on and the decision making or why it's difficult. And if you listen to those, you can see like the roller coaster ride that was Meal Coach, where it was like, oh my God, we finally got to talk to these people. Oh my God, they think it's cool. And then like, a couple of weeks later being like, everything sucks because like no one's using it and we don't know how to approach more people. Like it's really, really difficult. Some people are good at this kind of thing, and I want to be careful about the way I talk about myself now, because I've learned that what I don't want to say is like I suck at selling, right? Because I have a lot more of a firm belief around negative self-talk being detrimental, and I don't want to say I suck at selling. What I want to say is I don't have experience doing it yet. I am not skilled at it yet, but I don't want to say I'm bad at it. I don't want to say like I hate doing it. I don't want to say like I'm not capable of it, because if I keep saying it, I'll talk myself out of doing it more. And like I did that for a long time with public speaking, for example. Kept saying I'm terrible at it, I'm bad at it, it scares me. And then I would never public speak. And then anytime the thought of speaking in front of an audience came up, it was like, oh, I don't want to do that. But like, why? You're not actually scared of it, you just don't do it. And I think that's the same thing with like selling here. I don't sell things. That's not part of what I regularly do. So of course I shouldn't expect that I'm going to be like amazing at it. And that's fine. That's totally cool. And I'm saying this all out loud because if you're a software developer and you're like, I want to try making, like, whether it's sites or apps or whatever you want, and you're like, I want to try to get users, but like I don't know what to do, like I'm bad at it, I can't talk to people, like you cannot expect that magically you will just be good at something if you don't do it. And guess what? If you want to get good at it, you got to go do it. So I'm telling you this, and I'm also saying it out loud for myself to remind myself, like, it's going to keep being awkward and uncomfortable until I do more of it. And that's okay. So that's been a struggle for me. I'm with a little bit of momentum now and having, like, we've had some user feedback, like, right away. We had, like I said, this kind of first testimonial, which is good. And I feel like I want to ride on that momentum and, like, see, like, look, it's not so bad. Like, you can talk to these people, you can get more feedback. And even on the feedback part, I think this is really important too, because when I've noticed this about myself. When I'm building stuff for a company, I always take a lot of pride in what I'm building, always. Because I don't want to deliver crappy code, I don't want to have a crappy user experience. I want people to walk away from the stuff that I've built and they're like, hell yeah, like, that did what I needed. And I feel like when I'm building stuff at a company, it's easier for me to feel confident about what I'm building. Like, it's good to go. People are going to be happy with that. When it's my own thing, it's the exact opposite. It's like a fear. It's like a fear of rejection, I think, is the best way I would put it. I feel so afraid that someone will try it and be like, I hate it. This is the dumbest thing. This is broken. It doesn't work. And it scares the crap out of me. And it's funny because part of me, the logical part of me knows, like, dude, obviously the first time you go to release something, it's not going to be perfect. Even if it was exactly what I wanted to build, there's going to be people that say that doesn't work for me, that's not what I want. Like, I know that's the case. And the best part about that is even, like, the negative feedback tells you what to go improve on. Literally, the first person that gave us feedback on Brand Ghost was awesome. They had like 6 or 7 points written down, and they said, basically, they came out of the gate saying, I see a lot of potential in this. This is really cool. I'm excited. And here's 6 things to go fix or improve. So even if they didn't say they were excited about it, right? Say they left that part out and they give us the 6 or 7 things to go improve. Within the first 24 hours, it was less, like first 12 hours, we had all of those things on that list fixed. And like one of them, I think, like addressed as like, don't know. Like, we don't know how we want to address it. This is kind of weird here. What's this person doing? There's 2 lanes and they're driving in the middle of it. I think they're confused. So yeah, like, the negative feedback thing scares the crap out of me, but I think it's just honestly, like, I have a fear of rejection in general. Kind of had this like my whole life. I think it's pretty common for people, but I've joked around that it's the same feeling, and I don't know, like, depending on your upbringing and stuff. I think about it being like going to ask your crush out on a date. It's the same, it's literally the exact same feeling. Different scenario, but that feeling of like, oh, I don't want to go ask them because I'm afraid they're going to say no. Literally the same. So for me, when I'm like, okay, like I know the next step is we got to put this in front of people, part of me inside goes, no, like you got to do a couple more things. Like it's not ready yet. But it's me kind of like tricking myself into being like, you're just afraid. Oh, that sun is so bright. And it's, you know, I can literally say this out loud and admit it to myself, but it doesn't change my behavior, which is kind of funny. So I think it's going to take more work. Oh man, to be able to like be honest with myself about that kind of thing. Like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like people are going to have feedback no matter what. So the sooner you can get the feedback, literally, the better. And yeah, I think, again, I didn't have to try so hard this time with Brand Ghost to start getting that. And that's really cool. So I'm pumped about that. I'm hopeful that if you're listening to this or watching, right, maybe that might resonate with you, where you're like, something never feels ready to release. You're nervous about the feedback or like anything like that. I just want to say all this out loud to remind you, like who cares, right? It's software. It's never going to be perfect. If your goal is to get people using it, get it in front of them. Let them use it. You know, unless you've built something where you somehow know it's the perfect thing, which I'd love to know your secret, then your goal is like, it's feedback initially, right? Because you're trying to prove that you have something that's of value. I'm pretty confident we do, and I'm pretty confident we do because we've built what I use to post all of my social media. So, to give you an example, the fact that you're watching this right now is only, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it's only because Brand Ghost. It's because I've been able to create content the way that I do. And the only way that I could ever sustain that, I work a 9-to-5 job and I'm doing other stuff on top of all of this. So the fact that you're watching this is because I've been able to sustain my content creation using the system that Brand Ghost has. So I know that it has value. I'm not saying it's the perfect fit for everyone, because that would be a ridiculous thing to claim, but I know it has value. And now my mission with that is to be able to find the people that also have the same perceived value of it. So it's going to be a fun ride. It's nice. I already have a couple of people that are trying it, that are using it. Literally, so what time is it? So in 40 minutes, I have a call with the first person that kind of onboarded to Brand Ghost. He has a real estate company, he has a roofing company, and he's really good with photography and cinematography. I actually know him. I met him through through car stuff. Go figure, right? Full circle. And you know, from Instagram and stuff, seeing what he was posting, like, man, like this guy's got really good stuff. Like, when you've probably seen like real estate walkthroughs and stuff, they'll take a drone and it's kind of just, or whatever, you have someone walking through and taking pictures. You see all like sorts of different levels of quality with this stuff, but his is like it feels like a cinematic experience, and I'm not just trying to talk him up. Like I think they're cool. Like, even if I'm not interested in the house, I think he does a good job with his filming and the way that he edits all of it together. So for him, he knows, and because he's experienced this, he knows that when he's posting on social media for his business, it literally drives people to contact him. Like, it drives sales. So he's no stranger to it, but the thing is, he also knows, like, he's got to take care of business. And if you're spending all of your time focused on trying to post to these different platforms, that's time you could be spending on your business. So I think, you know, for him, it was really cool that we had this interaction early, and I was like, hey dude, like, if you can change, not to replace your content strategy, but if you can change the basis of your content strategy, right? You don't need to try and do like a viral video every day or something, because you'd burn out. But I said, if you can try making more content that is like educational, that you could share regularly, repost if you need to, because it is evergreen, then I said, I think you can use the system that I'm using. So he saw the value right away, and like I said, he's basically doing at least 2 of his businesses to start with on Brangos, which is super exciting. I gotta move over. You might see the TT, because I'm driving the wife's SUV, so she's gotta park in the other spot, but we'll get beside the TT here. You can see it in all of its glory. Maybe not. Maybe I'll take the camera out and show you. Yeah, let's do that. Let me turn this thing off. Okay, you're coming for not a ride with me, a walk. A walk, that's what we'll call it. Let me unlock my front door here, because I'm gonna forget. Okay, door is unlocked. So it says, okay. Is this car off? Wasn't off. Okay, let's go. How do we take this thing off? I don't know how this is going to work. You're technically upside down right now. It's weird to explain, because this thing was hanging off the ceiling of the car. So I'll show you the fun car. One sec. But there it is. See, I don't know if I flip my screen around if it's going to invert the video, so I don't want to try, but it's got to get cleaned. We'll do a little walk around. It's got a wing. It's got wheels. It's got a flat tire. It's very flat. But yeah, that's the TT. It's fun times. But thanks, folks. I will see you next time.